Imagine spending years trying to draw in a certain kind of man, the one you believed would finally give you the life and love you deserved, while loudly criticizing the kind of man you swore you'd never settle for. Now imagine all of that backfiring. The man you were convinced would be your Prince Charming, your protector, your happily ever after, turned out to be nothing of the sort. Behind the charm lay a past darker than you could have imagined, and a depth of anger you never thought you'd have to face. This is Stacy's story.
So how does a man that has a flipping assault, like a harassment, has probation, is on have warrants, were able to slip through the system, get a $2,500 bill, and was able to go back to the same young lady that he harassed and kill her?
Now, her family and friends are left behind.
I hope you protect me and guard me. I'm glad to have you as my angel. I miss you.
We love you.
A little after 2 in the morning on November 13th, Baton Rouge police were dispatched to a disturbing scene in the 12,000 block of Old Hammond Highway. When officers arrived, the quietness of the early morning was shattered by the sight before them: a woman lying motionless in a parking lot, bleeding heavily from multiple brutally inflicted stab wounds. The severity of her injuries made it clear that whatever had happened had been swift, violent, and absolutely devastating. The victim was later identified as 23-year-old Stacy Charles. She was rushed to a nearby hospital, but tragically died during emergency surgery. Around the same time, officers responded to a separate vehicle crash in the area and determined that Stephen Heinrich Jr. had been involved in both the collision and the stabbing. According to initial reports, Heinrich showed up at Stacy's residence and began violently ramming his vehicle into hers. He then forced her out of her vehicle, stabbed her multiple times, and fled the scene. While attempting to escape, he deliberately crossed into oncoming traffic, causing a head-on collision with another car. After the crash, Heinrich reportedly set himself on fire while still inside his vehicle. He was transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Records revealed that just days earlier, on November 5th, Stacy had contacted police regarding a battery incident involving Heinrich, which resulted in his arrest. He was released on a $2,500 bond for battery of a dating partner and was served with a protective order within 24 hours of his arrest. Authorities later confirmed that Heinrich already had 6 additional protective orders issued against him by women in other states. Court documents also show that on October 6th, Stacy filed for a restraining order prohibiting Heinrich from approaching her workplace or school. In her statements, she reported that he had stalked her, punched her, and threatened her life repeatedly over the past year. She further alleged that he created fake phone numbers to contact her and even added her family, friends, and employer to group chats where he sent inappropriate images. She stated that for the previous 2 months, Heinrich had been using false identities and social media accounts to harass both her and her relatives. The restraining order was later dismissed after Stacy did not appear for the scheduled hearing. News of Stacy's murder quickly spread across social media, where users began combing through her past posts in an attempt to understand what may have led to the tragic events. Some posts resurfaced showing Stacy expressing a preference for white men while criticizing black men, sparking intense debate online. Many commenters speculated, often harshly, that her choices had somehow contributed to her fate. Another social media user came forward with a series of text messages and photos, revealing the extent of the abuse a close friend had endured while in a relationship with Heinrich.
The WBRZ investigative unit has obtained more documents showing the rocky relationship history that led to 2 deaths. According to Baton Rouge police, 28-year-old Stephen Heinrich stabbed 23-year-old Stacy Charles to death before crashing his car and setting himself on fire. Court documents show Charles had tried to protect herself from Heinrich multiple times before her death. In a protective order request filed in October in family court, Charles says Heinrich was physically abusive, having checked these boxes, saying he punched, shoved, and threatened her life with a weapon. However, in her written description of the abuse, she does not mention violence, instead stating he was relentlessly harassing and stalking her and her family through social media.
He created like any dating site, any type of thing. This man would create a page for my daughter.
It's behavior that Dominique Ramkaran and her family know well.
Everything that he did to my daughter, he was doing to the same girl.
Ramkaran lives in New York, where Heinrich is from. She says he harassed and stalked her daughter for months before he met Charles.
A year and a half, you harassed and stalked my daughter. A year and a half, you have tortured us.
In fact, it got so bad it led Ramkaran to file a civil suit against Heinrich when she says the police wouldn't take it seriously. According to her, he had been arrested in New York for violating a protective order several times.
The system failed both of these young ladies.
In Baton Rouge, Heinrich was never served with that initial protective order by Charles because officers couldn't find him. The matter was ultimately dismissed because Charles didn't show up to court. A month later, Heinrich was arrested for misdemeanor domestic abuse against Charles, and she was granted a protective order. He was issued a $2,500 bond by Commissioner Keena Kimball, and a week later stabbed Charles to death. Ramkaran says her death could have been prevented.
So how does a man that has a flipping assault, like a harassment, has probation, have warrants, were able to slip through the system, get a $2,500 bail, and was able to go back to the same young lady that he harassed and kill her?
Stacy's friends and family were left devastated, shocked, heartbroken, and struggling to understand how something so horrific could happen. They were left asking the same questions over and over. How did it come to this? Why did it have to end this way? A woman should be able to leave a relationship without fearing retaliation, violence, or fatal consequences. Regardless of how some people online chose to judge Stacy for her personal preferences or past choices, nothing justified what happened to her. She did not deserve to die, just as the many other women who have fallen victim to domestic violence never deserved their fate either. In the days that followed, her loved ones gathered together for a balloon release, standing side by side to honor her memory. It was a solemn tribute to a young woman whose life was cut tragically, painfully short, and a reminder of the bright future she should have been able to live.
Today, we honor her by lifting our hearts, just as these balloons lift into the sky.
This is one of the hardest things I've ever been through. I never imagined that I would lose one of my closest friends.
According to police, Charles was found lying in the parking lot of her apartment complex with several stab wounds last Thursday. She died during surgery. Police say the man responsible is her ex-boyfriend, Stephen Heinrich Jr., who crashed his vehicle and set himself on fire. He died the following day. Charles filed a restraining order against Heinrich just last month.
This is just heartbreaking, and we should not be here right now. This should not be happening. I felt like the system and just the judicial system failed her, and they failed her friends and her family, because this could have been prevented.
Macy Duplessis says she and Charles met while attending college together. She describes her as a very happy and bubbly person.
Just a beautiful soul, and just someone that you always wanted to be around. Someone who had a beautiful smile and always made you smile, especially when you needed it most.
Charles's boss, Deidre Catalano, says she had just purchased her first car.
You would have never thought that she was going through all of this. She always kept her head up high. She did not let it get her down. She continued with pushing forward and her goals, going to school.
Now, her family and friends are left behind.
I hope you protect me and guard me. I'm glad to have you as my angel. I miss you.
We love you.
The story of Stacey Charles teaches that no one should ever be harmed for choosing to leave a relationship, and the blame for violence always lies with the abuser, not the victim. It shows how important it is for others to take signs of danger seriously, especially when someone has a history of abuse. Stacey's experience also reveals the harsh reality of online judgment, reminding us that victims deserve compassion, not criticism. Above all, her story highlights the need for stronger protection, deeper empathy, and unwavering support for those facing domestic violence. Rest in peace, Stacey Charles.